All right, let's talk about how to shoot stills. I know that people talk a tremendous amount about the video, right? And it has wonderful video capabilities. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. But of course, one of the things that we would love to be able to do is to shoot stills. Now, it's very, very easy to shoot stills. There's actually a dedicated button for video and stills on the controller itself.
Yeah, so right here at the top of the controller, and thanks DJI for this, there's a shutter button for the stills, and there's a video start stop button for video. So you just basically use whichever finger you want. And to confirm that it actually took the shot, both red lights will flash and you'll hear a beep on the controller as well. So here, we'll take a shot right now.
Yeah, you can see the lights flash, absolutely.
So here we'll take another one. And so that's capturing, wirelessly you're controlling it, it's capturing those images to that micro SD card in the Mavic Pro.
Also, what's nice is, and it's easy to remember, it is the right button, the same button you'd use for a shutter on your DSLR. Right. It's the same button. Now, the settings that you're going to be shooting for are actually displayed at the top of the DJI Go 4 app. So you'll see them listed right across the top. Now, it gives you a pretty simplistic set of settings from the beginning. So the first thing that I would do, and you know I'm going to recommend this, is to change from JPEG to RAW. And this is where you're going to access all kinds of controls inside the camera. And the first one that I would recommend is let's go ahead and change to RAW for your stills. Now, the second thing I'm going to recommend, and this is really, really important, it has built-in sharpening. But the sharpening is a little too crunchy. And it's not just too crunchy for video, it's too crunchy for stills. It's going to look like, I would say that it looks like you've over-sharpened the photo right out of the camera.
That was my first response. I mean, I looked at my video when my first flight. Video was phenomenal. I was very impressed. I took a few stills and I was thinking,
they look too crunchy.
I knew it needed something, but I couldn't figure out what it was. And Scott, thanks for that.
So one of the things that you want to do is considering lowering the sharpening, and I would lower it to -2. At the very top, you're going to see the little triangle that looks like Photoshop's sharpening tool, and we're going to lower the sharpening to -2, and that's going to get you much better results, I think. You can always add sharpening in post, because you know we're going to add sharpening in post anyway, but at least you're not starting with like an over-sharpened image.
Agreed.
Next is the auto white balance feature works pretty well because you're mostly going to be flying your drone in daylight. If that's the case, you're fine. If it gets cloudy, if it gets something like, you need to change your white balance. If you want your white balance to look good, let's set it to the white balance conditions you're under. So if for some reason you're flying in direct shade, switch it to shade. If you're flying on a cloudy day, switch it to cloudy. You want the white balance to be on the money. The auto's pretty good, but it's not incredible. So I would go ahead, and if you really want to make the kind of stills you want to make, let's get your white balance right in camera.
Yeah, and that way you're taking the guesswork out of it. And what I mean by guesswork is anytime a camera's in auto mode, it's guessing. So if you're saying, no, don't guess, it's a cloudy day, adjust for it, then it's no longer guessing. It's adjusting every image for cloudy.
Also, by default, the camera does autofocus, right? But it's not the most awesome autofocus in the world. It works often. So here's what I would recommend doing. If you really want to get the kind of focus that I know that you want, go ahead and tap on the screen to focus like you would if you were using the iPhones or the Android's camera. If you tap inside the green box, it brings up a little movable exposure point. You can drag it and choose exactly what you want to expose for. So if you're flying over a cannon and you've got a blue sky and the cannon's very dark and in the shadows, you can tap right in there and it will expose for that area. So if you really want to get picky about where to expose for, you can drag this exposure point around as well. Now, the right wheel in the front of the controller also helps with your exposure. It controls the shutter speed. If I had to say anything about this camera, is that it tends to overexpose a bit. So if you make it a little bit darker, kind of think of it as exposure compensation, underexposed by at least 1/3 of a stop or 2/3 of a stop using the controls, you're probably going to be happier with your results because it is a little on the bright side. Of course, we do have the auto setting, which works okay, but there's also a manual setting where you control everything from the shutter speed to the aperture to
ISO.
the ISO.
Yes.
So you do that right here on the iPhone
on
app.
the screen, you just switch from auto to manual, and now you're controlling everything. So there's my shutter speed, there's my ISO, So as I pump up the ISO, it gets better. There's my exposure compensation. So I'm doing it all from the touchscreen on the phone.
Now there's something very weird to know about the camera. The gimbal on it, the thing that keeps it like keeps the gyroscope and gives you this very, very, very nice crisp shot even though the drone is flying in the air, it only moves up and down. It does not move side to side. You can't move the gimbal side to side. So Terry, if you want to take a shot instead of straight ahead over there, what do?
You fly the drone and turn it.
You literally, just like you would with your camera.
Yeah.
So you can turn right here, you can turn your camera up, you can turn your camera down, but if you need to shoot something over there, you turn the camera over there. You actually move over that way. That's
right.
exactly what it's going to have to do. It only goes up and down. You have to turn the camera to make it.
And it's the same thing when someone asked me, does it have a zoom? And I thought for a second, yeah, the propellers. You fly it closer to whatever it is you want to zoom in on.
That's right. It only goes up and down. You have to turn the camera. The camera doesn't zoom. If you want it closer, you're going to fly closer to the object you want to take a picture of, or you're going to fly back further. Another thing you can do photographically that you'll really enjoy is taking panos. You can actually have the drone take panos for you. It's a little tricky, but Terry has found an app. It's not the cheapest app.
No, it's not.
But it will really do a beautiful job. It does all the math for you. So first, Terry, before we get to the app, let's talk about how would you do it manually to take a pano?
Well, I've tried it manually, and it is a lot of work. So, because what you'd have to do is, it's not just a simple matter of, let's talk about this. Panels are one thing. 360s are another.
Yeah.
You can absolutely shoot a panel manually. That's not a problem. You just basically position a drone you want, take a shot, have some overlap, take a shot, have some overlap, take a shot.
Just like you would with a DSLR.
Right. Stitch it together in an app like Photoshop, and away you go. So if you're ready to shoot that 360 degree, what you would do is launch the DJI app, get everything ready, fly it to where you want to take the 360. So again, it's going to be enough room, you're going to be up in the air, and you're just going to let it hover there because it's going to turn all the way around and do everything via the app. You're going to then launch the Litchi app. And you're thinking, well, wait a minute, don't I have to keep the DJI app running? It's going to be running in the background. Your copter's not going to fall out of the sky if you switch apps. So that's why I said, control it, get it where you want it, let it be hovering where you want it, make sure you got enough battery, the whole 9 yards, because it's going to take about 24, 26 shots to do this. So what it's going to do is it's going to position wherever you left it.
Yep.
And start taking a picture from the bottom, middle, top, and then turn. Top, middle, bottom, then turn. Bottom, top. So it's going to do that until it's got all 26 or so shots that it needs. And then it'll just stop. It'll just still be hovering where it left off. You can switch back to the DJI app and continue flying.
So that's how you make a 360 pano. How much is that app, Mr. White?
Well, you got to remember, it's not just for taking panos, so this price may sound high, but this app was really designed to be a replacement for the DJI app. We're not recommending it for that, but that's what it was designed to do. So it can not only take 360-degree panos and all kinds of other things, you could use it in place of the DJI app. So for that app is $22.99 as of the time of this filming.
Now what's funny is, that doesn't sound like a lot. 23 bucks doesn't sound like a lot of money until you go, it's for an app, and you're like, apps are 99 cents or free.
People freak out when an app costs more than nothing.
But when you think about it, for what you've spent for the copter to be able to expand its power in this way and do these amazing 360 panos.
With one tap of a button.
One tap of the button,
okay,
it does the
it's
whole
where I
thing.
want it to be. Start shooting. Let me know when you're done. I paid $23 for that in a heartbeat.
It's basically making your VR for you.
Right, and keep in mind that while that is the way to do it today, that doesn't mean that DJI, who's always updating their apps and their firmware and technology, won't add that as a feature in the future. We just don't know. Right,
it could be. Don't know.
Yeah, it could be an app. It could be an addition to their DJI app.
Because obviously, the capability to do this is already built into the copter. This is being activated through software.
Right, it would be just another mode. In other words, take a 360-degree pano, and it would you tap the button, and it would do it. You tell it how many shots you want, and it does it.
Sweet. Now, what about taking selfies with your drone. Yes, it has a built-in selfie mode, and you activate it using a gesture. It's really very clever. So in gesture mode, here's what happens. The drone flies up, it turns around for you to make a selfie. Now, once it's up in the air, you're going to give it a signal by raising your hands, and it's going to track you. It's going to go, oh, okay, there you are. And even if you move a little to the left or move a little to the right, it'll still track you. When you're ready to take the shot, you're going to make the hand gesture that you see Terry making here. That signals to the copter. It will blink a red light to let you know here comes the selfie, and click, it fires the shot.